Hey guys, welcome back to the Book Haven with Rachel and Raven. We're so glad you're here. Grab a cup of something yummy and let's get this episode started. Today we are going to talk about school books and specifically school read alouds that we've done with our kids. And so we each have a list of some books that we have really enjoyed reading with our kids. And for me, that means it may be an audiobook because we really like audiobooks. And also by the end of the day, I'm tired of, or even sometimes the beginning of the day, I'm tired of like doing a lot of talking, and I enjoy when I'm being read to. And so for us, that a lot of times means an actual like audio book that we are listening to and together. So, and also you can put those on in the car. And so that is,
I was just going to say, like, audiobooks work too with like lunchtime, or you can just do them. They're so versatile because you don't have to be committed to sitting and reading the book.
Yeah. And my kids don't have to sit and wait for me to, either get my voice back or, whatever. We don't have to wait on that. We can just pick up where we left off. If we jump in the car and we're all in the car at the same time, we can listen and it still counts. So, I can go first. And okay, I picked a few of our fun, like our most memorable read alouds. So the first one that I picked is actually a series. It's a series of unfortunate events. We read through these during a summer, which I cannot remember which summer it was. I think maybe 2017. And I know that these are kind of dark now looking back on it, but for some reason, I don't know if it was just the season or what, but we really enjoyed these. We enjoyed Lemony Snicket's, little sidebar comments, and we had a lot of laughs about that. So I think you kind of have to be maybe maybe you have to be in the right space.
What ages would you, because I feel like I missed the window with that series. So like we never read it. We watched the Netflix series.
Yeah.
But it was like by the time I was like, oh, when the Netflix series was coming out, we can read it. And it was like we started reading it and my kids were just too old.
Yeah, I mean, and see, we tried to go back recently and tried to re-listen to them, and I realized that my kids did not enjoy them as much as, we didn't actually finish. We stopped it because they were like, they couldn't hang with it. So I think you're right. There is a certain age. I feel like my oldest was about 10, maybe, or 11. And so then that would have made my youngest probably 6 when we actually listened to those. So I don't know. I think it depends on your kids too.
Right. Well, that's the thing. That's what's hard about those is I feel like I made the conscious decision of like, oh, well, we're going to put that off and wait until, like it's not super scary. But by the time I like circled back around to it, my kids were like, no.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It worked for us, and I don't know. I don't even know really why it worked for us, but we really, really enjoyed those. We looked forward to reading them every afternoon because at that point we still did quiet time. And so we would do that kind of before our quiet time. And it was like a time in our house when everybody got quiet and we sat down and we read for a little bit, and then everybody kind of went to their own corners of the house after that. And and it worked. We looked forward to it. They were, every time we would get in the car, because also at that season of my life, everybody was in the car at the same time, all of the time, versus now when it's just like one kid, 2 kids,
Yeah.
So, okay. And then our next one was Wizard of Oz, and my kids were much younger when we read this one. I feel like this was Olivia was probably, I don't know, 4, maybe when we listened to this one, and we did this in the evenings every evening. Now, the audio on this one is the best audiobook I think we've ever read. Anne Hathaway reads it. She does all of the voices, and
My daughter loves that version.
it's so much fun. We all loved it. And so that one is my second pick. And then we have also done Pilgrim's Progress, not the unabridged version, but we have a kind of a dramatized version. They still speak in like the old, like King James way in this dramatized version, but it's very, very, very close to the story, like the original. Nothing is cut. All of like the dialogue is, almost exactly to the book. So we have listened to that, and that was something that we did year before last, and we really enjoyed that. And just talking through that, and that took us a while. It took us quite a while to make our way through that, but that was a fun journey. And then our next one is Charlotte's Web, of course. Like, how can you not even read Charlotte's Web? Except for people who completely don't like animal stories. I don't like animal stories, but for some reason, I feel like Charlotte's Web is different. And so I'm blanking on the author right now. Do you have it off the top?
Isn't it Webb? Is it? Or
No, not Webb. I'm E.B. White. So
White.
Yeah, so
W.
Yeah, his other books, another favorite of his books that we've read, and we read through this one more than one time, The Trumpet of the Swan. That one was such a cute book. There's a swan, there's a little boy, and it's just so cute. And so he also wrote Charlotte's Web. So, okay, and that's what I was saying. The other one that he wrote was Stuart Little. I did not enjoy that one as much at all. I felt like it was kind of boring. But Charlotte's Web, I think, is just a lovely story of friendship. And there's a lot of elements to that book. So, and I had not read that growing up. I watched the movie, so I kind of knew the story. But when I read the book, I definitely loved the book. I loved his writing.
Did all of your kids like it?
Charlotte's Web, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Trumpet of the Swan. Trumpet of the Swan is all of our favorite. I don't know why I didn't put that one on here, but that one is actually, I would say Charlotte's Web.
Well,
and
you
Trumpet
can have
of
a
the Swan
twofer then.
Yeah. Okay, and then the other one, and some of these are just memorable because they're different seasons of our lives. So now that I'm looking at this list, I'm recognizing, why we enjoyed this. It was a season of our life that it was just different periods in my kids' lives. They were different ages, and yeah, I don't know. Now that I'm looking at this, so I put Fever 1793. So 1793 is a book about I don't remember where the geographical area is. It's like up north United States, and it is yellow fever. They had a yellow fever outbreak, and it was just kind of crazy. A lot of people died, and this is another one of those books where it's a period of history that I didn't really grasp. Hang on just a second. I'm going to look up.
It took place in Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. Okay, that's right. And so there's a girl in the story who is like the main character. And, okay, so this book is by Laurie Halse Anderson. And, let's see.
She does good historical fiction, young adult.
Yeah.
I mean, would you say this is young adult, or would you say it's more middle grade?
I would say middle grade.
Yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't say that it's actually yellow fever. It's just that it was the late 1793. late summer of 1793, and the streets of Philadelphia are abuzz with mosquitoes and rumors of fever. Down near the docks, many have taken ill, and the fatalities are mounting. And so, a lot of people get sick. She ends up helping a doctor. And so, anyways, it's really good. It's a story of survival, I think. And it was just relevant to us. We were reading it in the late summer of 2020, and there were people that were getting sick. And I would in no way compare the two sicknesses, but it was just an interesting read at that time, and it felt more real to us, just because of what was already going on in the world around us. So that concludes my list. Now, my list could be very a lot longer, but
well, and maybe we'll do like a part 2 or a part 3 or something.
That's true.
Okay, so to segue between your book list and my book list, we're going to have our fun bookish question. Ooh, so today is, do you buy or borrow books more?
So I buy books more than I borrow books.
Why?
Well, one, because I do not like going into the library.
Wow.
I think probably it's that we got off the train of the library, and lots of 2020 stuff here, but we kind of got off of going to the library in 2020 because we couldn't go. And then I just found thrift books. That opened up to me, and I fully took advantage of it. And also, I am a huge collector of books. Anybody who's been in my house knows this. I love books, and I love seeing them on my shelves. My dream is to have a library one day of my own. And so that is why I probably buy more books than I borrow. I don't know that I've been to the library in probably, over 3 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, I think we borrow more for sure, but I enjoy getting books off of thrift books just because we have gotten some from really interesting places. Mm-hmm. So there's like libraries that sell them. So we actually have, I think, 2 books that have shown up from like New York Public Library.
I have a few of those too. They're so cool.
Yeah. And so it's always just interesting. Or my favorite is when you find like little trinkets that somebody left inside it, like notes or bookmarks or something like that. So I definitely think that going used books, we're not saying buy brand new. I very rarely buy a book brand new, and it's mostly because like I can't get it at the library. So, but no, we borrow, and I think it's because we do a lot of audiobooks. We do a lot of ebooks. That's pretty much what my daughter reads is ebooks. So, and my son likes audiobooks. So we kind of do that train more, but, and it's probably too, because when we did our like bookshelf thing, and I was like so proud of all my shelves, I'm like, I really don't have that many books because we have moved so much that I really only keep the ones that either I haven't gotten to yet or the ones that just meant a lot.
Yeah.
So I am not I am a collector. I wish I could be more of a collector, but I feel like every time we move or whatever, I'm constantly like, do I really have to move that,
Yeah, I would say that's probably one of my number one reasons for not wanting to move. And I think I would also say, now that you said audiobooks, I do borrow a lot of audiobooks. So I don't know, maybe I'm 50-50 if we're going to count audiobooks borrowing.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Okay, so my school read alouds, I feel like there's only one that hasn't been in the recent past that I could recall us doing for school. So mine are all fairly newer, I guess. But anyway, so the first one I have is A Night Divided by Jennifer Nelson. It is takes place in East Berlin, and this girl, they're living in Berlin, and overnight the wall goes up. She has family on the other side that get stuck on the other side, and so they spend years and years trying to figure out how they're going to live their life, without them. And but it was very interesting learning and kind of walking through that with her, of just the extreme oppressiveness that they were living under. I think sometimes we like to think that at the end of World War II, like everything got fixed and all the countries went back to, being free or whatever it is. And that's so not the case.
Yeah.
But, so it was just really, really interesting to learn more about that. And my kids really enjoyed that one. It is, it's written very well in the sense of like, you want to keep knowing what's going to happen. Like you want to keep learning, what's going to happen to this girl and her family. And there's twists and turns. And at the very end, you're like, like holding your breath. How is this going to end? So I thought it was very, very well done.
Yeah. She writes really good books.
She has again, we talk a lot about historical fiction, but she has a lot of really good, again, kind of like obscure. It's not really obscure, but it's just not your go-to, I guess I should say, history fiction.
That one would be middle grade, right? Don't you think?
I would think so. More middle. Yeah. I don't know what category, like what makes it go from one category to another. So I don't know what the line is between middle and young adults. But I would definitely think that it would be totally fine to do middle of the road. And there is some intense parts, but I still think that if you had older kids and maybe like a younger one, I think it would still be okay. Have y'all done that one?
I know I read it, and I know my oldest read it.
Yeah.
But I feel like we actually did that all together. Yeah, I enjoyed it when I read it. So.
Yeah. I think my youngest was for sure upper elementary, if not middle school. I feel like maybe she was like right there, 6th grade when we did that one. So, okay. And then my next one is Sweep, The Story of a Girl and Her Monster by Jonathan. I don't know how you say his last name. Axier? It's Auxier. Okay.
Auxier, I think.
Excuse me.
I only know that because I've heard other people talk about it.
I don't know how to pronounce fancy names. This book is so just different. It's just so different. Yeah. I don't even know what category you could technically put it in because it kind of just fits a lot of different ones. There's a historical aspect of it. It's taking place in like Victorian London. It's about these kids that are chimney sweepers. The main girl is the chimney sweeper, but kind of like their like underworld situation. And then, but you have this like fantastical element to it, and he brings in like Jewish folklore, and stuff like with golems, which I had no idea about. And but it was so interesting, and the story, you just kind of never knew where it was going. So we really, really liked this one, and I'm pretty sure that we read it through pretty fast because my kids like were also like, what is going to happen? This is so bizarre.
Yeah. And I feel
like it
all
just
his
kept
books
twisting.
are that way too.
Yeah. Yeah. He definitely has a niche of, I don't know what I would call it, but it's just like, it's just so different. It's going to be different than anything that you've read with your kids, but in a good way. I would definitely say this is middle grade for sure. And I'm trying to think if there's any aspects where I would maybe like pause, but I think you could even get away with upper elementary with that one.
Yeah.
But even like my kids were older when we did it, like older junior high, maybe even high school.
Yeah.
Like freshman year, and it was totally fine.
Yeah.
And they enjoyed it.
If I remember right, like there is some historical significance to that whole
Yeah.
story as well,
Yeah.
that you find out
Yeah.
at the
There's,
end.
yeah. Yeah. Like it's like a, like a parallel history, I guess is, I
Yeah.
think, a good way to, that's how I think about it in my head. Like the actual history of what happened. And this is just kind of fantasy over here, but kind of coinciding with actual events that
Yes.
happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, we really, really liked that one. That is a book that I have kept and not passed off. Well, all of these I think I have, but, so then my next one is Esperanza Rising by Pam
Munis.
Yeah, Ryan. And this one is about a girl who grows up in Mexico, and they live on a ranch. And I think it's that one of the brothers comes and tries to like take over their ranch. I can't remember, but they end up fleeing to California. And this is all taking place during the Great Depression. So it is a very trying time. It's hard to be moving. And then just like the way the family, so the dad doesn't end up going, so it's the mom. And just to watch this mom like just keep, going and trying to get a better life for her kids. And the perspective is her daughter, but still are obviously watching or knowing what the mom's going through and stuff. And it was just really, really good. And I think it's really good to expose your kids to different, the way different people have to live.
Yeah.
And have to survive, and hard choices that they have to make. But when you're reading through these stories, you're able to have those conversations. Like, what do you think? What choice do you think she should have made?
Yeah.
Because both of those choices were hard. And so I really enjoy books like that challenge them and challenge me, honestly, too. Because, you can get wrapped up in your own world of like, man, this is so crazy and life is just so whatever right now.
Sure.
But I still have it, 1,000 times better than other situations. So I saved the best for last, according to my family. So one of our all-time favorites, it has the best memories attached to it, is we read A Wrinkle in Time. And I don't know why I put this as like a school read aloud, but we did it during school time. And it my kids just loved this book. I don't even know that it's like, I know some people are going to say, oh yeah, it's super amazing. I don't know that it's the best, book ever, but my kids just really, really loved this book when we read it. And it's fun. It's time travel. They're trying to find the dad. But my kids just love it, and they will still recommend it to people. That it's one of their favorite books. So
That's interesting.
Yeah.
My kids enjoyed that one, but I really had a hard time following that one. I think it's because I don't follow those kinds of storylines very well.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, why I don't, but because I've tried that one more than one time, and I just don't get it.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, I love this book because my kids loved it so much.
Yeah.
And we had such a good time doing it as a read aloud because they just loved it. And I can remember we did it way back before, they had a movie come out several years ago now, but like a new version of it. My kids were so excited to go see it, and we went and saw it, and we left, and they were like, what? I mean, like, they felt like they had been personally attacked because the book or the movie was not like the book. And the book is so much better. So that's just one of the ones that I don't know what it was, but they love that book.
I love it.
So,
I love it when you like have those bonds through a story with our kids.
Yeah. And there's a brother and a sister. I don't know. I couldn't even tell you why, but they that book means a lot to them. And I will say, so I'm going to throw in a bonus book too, because the other book that they feel this way about is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh, I
Um,
love that one.
yeah. And so my kids loved that one so much. That was for sure elementary. My kids loved that one so much that we read the second one, which is equally as fun, but nobody
Yeah.
ever talks about that one.
Yeah.
What is that one called? Like the elevator?
Charlie in the Glass Elevator?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Something like that. Those books are so much fun. So much fun.
I love all of
Way
his
better
books.
than way better than the movies.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's just, they're so good. And my kids loved those two. Like, and that will always hold. Like, I can vividly picture us reading through those and like where we were and just the excitement that they had with those books. So highly recommend that one too, especially if you have younger ones. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is where it's at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love all of his books. I'm trying to think of, I know there's Matilda. What is the other one? There's a whole lot. We have a whole lot of his books. And, BFG. That's the one that I'm thinking
Oh,
of.
yes.
That
Yeah.
was so much fun. And that was one that my kids were kind of annoyed with the movie.
Yes, I can remember we did BFG too, and they were like, and the BFG is so like, you really have to get into reading that one or just do the audio because of the way he talks.
Yeah.
You've really got to sell it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, and then my last kind of, it's not really a book, but it's a collection of books, I guess, is that what you would call it, is the Christian hero books. And they are, each book is about a different hero of the Christian faith. So, some of the ones we've read are Jim Elliot and like D.L. Moody. And, I think they have like a Spurgeon, anybody from who has made waves basically in Christianity, somehow missionaries, they have these books on them and they're just short biography books, but they do a good job in the sense of really helping you learn and understand like the hardships that person went through and the trials and circumstances that they had to endure or overcome. And I think that those are great for kids, especially to just have that realization of like life's not always going to be roses, and especially when you're a Christian walking through this world right now, but or anytime really, but it's just not going to be easy. And I think we like to not baby our kids, but we don't like to see them hurt or to have to struggle through things. As a parent, you want to make it better. So I think, again, using books to kind of bring about conversation that challenges them. What would you do? How would you have done that differently, Or would you have made that hard decision, or would you have chose the easy decision? So, I really like those books for that.
We do those types of stories. We have a bunch of missionary stories through the books. What are they called? YWAM books. So we've read a lot of the same ones. And I think the same thing. I think looking at the lives of these people who were imperfect, and yet they weren't chasing after comfort and ease of life. They were really chasing after something they felt called to do, and they were going to do that at all costs because that's what they felt like God had called them to do. And I think I can sometimes get into this place of just seeking comfort, what's convenient for me, instead of realizing that the gift is really in the sacrifice. And I think that's what we learn, or that's what I've learned through reading a lot of these missionary stories and Christian hero stories.
Yeah.
So,
well, because sometimes like there are famous people, that they have the books on, but then there's kind of like a more obscure people. I'm trying to think of, she's not obscure, but what's the lady that went to India?
I know who you're talking about because Elizabeth Elliot talks about her all the time. And she wrote
Carmichael.
Yes, Amy Carmichael. There you go.
Yes.
Yay. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's, yeah. So just, I think using those as a, I don't know, jumping off point to have conversations with your kids
Oh, yeah.
about stuff like that. Yeah, for sure. Now we can discuss what we are currently reading.
Okay.
Or for me, about to read. So do you want me to go first?
Yes, you go first.
Okay, so I just got it through the library, so I have not even started it. But it's called The Wager. The Wager.
Oh, is this the ship?
Yes, and it's about the shipwreck, mutiny, murder. It's David Grann, Grann.
I have seen this book floating around.
Yeah, so have I. So I've been patiently waiting in the library. It just came through. So I am about to start that. So I'm excited. I have no details other than that's, what I just gave you.
Okay.
Shipwreck, mutiny, and murder.
Okay. I think I just added it to my Goodreads list, but you're going to have to let me know how that one is because several people that I follow on Goodreads have been reading that book lately. And I'm like, oh, I mean, it's not something that I think I would pick up, but.
No, but I've heard really good things and it's not very long. So I feel like I can commit to that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep me posted. Okay. What I'm reading right now, I'm actually working through a book with I'm always going through many books. Okay. So I am in the middle of probably 8 books. So saying that, one of the books that I'm currently reading, and I'm working through this book with one of my kids. And so we read a chapter a week and then we discuss on Sundays, usually Sunday afternoons. And so the book is Knowing God by J.I. Packer. And it is basically, I don't know, I would say that it's like a theological read. It's not really a Bible study, but it's just walking through the different characteristics of God. I don't know. It's deep, I will say. I don't know that I could read more than one chapter a week because every chapter is amazing.
Well, some of those books, like, especially the ones that like challenge you on what you thought you already knew and understood, I feel like you have to take the time to like really chew on it and process it before you can really move on to something else.
Yeah. Anyways, I think he spells it out, like the Trinity and the different functions of the Trinity. He really draws it out very well, and I just love it. I don't know what else to say, but it's I mean the title is self-explanatory, Knowing God. And we have just completed like the first section, and from all of the reviews that I've read, it says when you get to part 2, it's gonna be it's gonna go real deep. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that sometimes those books can be intimidating. And I know somebody like me who I do not read nonfiction books very often. Those books do drag on and take me forever to finish. And so I'll have that going while I've got other books going on too.
Yeah.
Just because you can't, like you said, you can't just sit there and blow through it and then move on to something else.
Yeah. So, and I have to be ready to discuss every week. And so, it's good for me to have that accountability and, just let it marinate, I'll read it and then just kind of sit on it. I'll make my little notes inside my book. And then
on the pages or sticky notes?
Well, mostly on the pages.
It's on the pages.
Mostly on the pages. Yes. But I don't know. It's mostly underlining.
Yeah. I think that's good. I think also too, when you're gonna challenge yourself and read a book that you don't normally read, I think it's always fun to get somebody else involved to kind of hold you accountable to, oh, I do need to finish that so I can talk about it.
Yeah.
Book clubs do that for me, especially books that I would never pick. And I'm like, well, I feel like I can't go and have a discussion if I haven't read it.
But do you feel like you can go if you didn't like it? You like book clubs because they hold you accountable. But if you have real opinions, do you feel like you can go to the book club?
Yes. I will, unless, so there has been occasions where I have gone knowing that I was probably going to be the only one that didn't like the book. And so I try to feel out the room to see, like, is anybody going to be open to, you know, maybe an opinion that's not going with everybody else. But I think this is what I take. And maybe this is totally me reading the room wrong. But sometimes I think when you bring a different opinion and you challenge people on how they read it, and like I read it differently, and you kind of bring that up, sometimes they go, oh, like that never even occurred to me. And so it makes sense why then I didn't like it. And they did, because I was reading it through a different lens. But sometimes I find some people get feisty and will like argue back with you about it, and they're super passionate about that side. And I think that's great too, because that means you really liked that book. Like, I don't take it personal. And I am a non-confrontational person. Like, so if I can give my opinion, but I think so often when it comes to book club, and we'll have to talk about this in another episode, but I think so often when it comes to book club, if they're reading something and you don't like it, or if you feel like you can't voice your opinion and stuff like that is the purpose of book club, or it should be. In a good book club, you should feel like you want to go so that you can be like, I did not like this. Like, why did you like it? You know, be able to voice that. But I don't know. So for me, if I'm going to go and be a part of it, but I always feel like when I have tried to not say stuff, everybody asks me my opinion. And I think because like they know that it's not
they know you have
I'm
opinions,
not always,
Rachel.
I'm not always defiant, but I will give you my opinion. It's like, and it's so funny because I'm not like that with anything else in my life. But when it comes to books, I will give you my opinion for sure. Okay, guys, we've come to the end of our time together. We hope that you have been encouraged to read something new, or if you're like Raven, reread something old. But mostly, we just hope that you have been inspired to read more in your life. Until next time, bye.